Hello everyone, Cameron here with another episode of The Chirp, a podcast by Pigeon Loans where we bring you fascinating conversations with interesting people about relationships and money. I'm currently outside at a lovely resort in the south of Spain, bringing you some sterling conversation with my awesome guest this week. Amadan Heyliger is a connection of mine on LinkedIn who, having seen her profile, I thought would be an awesome guest for us to have here on The Chirp. She's building up an impressive resume in tech at the moment, and I thought it would be interesting to hear about her life and how she got into tech. Talking to Amanda made me realise quick that her life story was far more interesting than what her LinkedIn presented, and I learned about her struggles in life, how she has improved her life situation, not just financially, but in other ways as well. And while she's not exactly where she wants to be at the moment, she's certainly on the right track. I also got her opinion on a big American matter at the moment with the student loan relief, and it was great as a European to get an American's point of view on what's happening there at the moment. So laughs and life stories shall ensue, so hope you all enjoy episode number 25 of The Chirp. Let's go. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today on The Chirp. How are things with you?
Very well, thank you. Just had a really great weekend and enjoying my Monday. I like Mondays, so
Me too. I don't not like Mondays.
right.
Brilliant, Amanda. Well, listen, we had a call there a couple of days ago. You've some very fascinating stories to tell, but before we get into them, would you mind telling our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you're doing at the moment?
So I am a mother of two. That's my first job. I work in tech, a little bit of consulting and cybersecurity, project management. So that's what I currently do. As a career on the side, I create art and I love my garden and I enjoy kitchen stuff. Everything from baking to different cuisine and experimenting and trying things. So those are my hobbies. I love the outdoors. I'm an avid cyclist and a speed walker.
Very good. And tell me, what kind of art do you make, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, my medium is like a little bit of acrylics, sometimes oil. I've been really in touch with Georgia O'Keeffe lately and enjoying a little bit of watercolor. So it's a mixed medium, whatever my
Yeah.
heart decides upon that day.
Very good. Sounds exciting. Well, listen, Amanda, we were talking about how you just recently acquired your new home. Congratulations, first and foremost, on that. Could you explain a little bit to us about your journey and kind of what kind of led up to kind of your success at the moment, but your journey up until this time of your life?
Absolutely. My home ownership goal was, I thought would happen sooner than later. But, once I kind of started the process of trying to own a home, it was more lengthy than I thought. I had to save, and I saved a lot by myself. My husband at the time was in and out of the country, so we had some savings, but I started off with a little bit of funds, my rainy day fund. I was renting, I was moving quite a lot with the company that I was working for at the time. It was like I was moving every year. So it still afforded me to have a good little savings account. Time kind of went on and I was enjoying kind of like hopping. One year here, one year there. It really gave me the experiences that I was longing for. Um, but soon after that, my significant other passed away. So the finances and the debt that I had to deal with really became first precedence at that moment. So I was kind of back down to zero. And the only real thing I had was like, your deep savings, like a 401k. I had a friend who had told me a long time ago to put some money in a Roth account. So I was literally putting little bits and pieces in there. That's really all I had to myself. So then, fast forward, it just became like I'm not going to be able to purchase a home. There's just really like no way. Um, it's, and then looking at the market and everything, I just felt like it was out of reach. Um, then the pandemic came and my daughter was born. So it was just like, where am I going to get the money? But through the pandemic, I really felt like if I have a home, I would be able to do different things for revenue, like business ventures, creative business ventures. It was gonna be a segue for me. So I moved from the city where, I was having this vibrant life, just all those opportunities to Appalachia. And it was affordable. I felt safe. I felt like my children would be safe here. I felt like I would be safer here, opposed to the city. And I made that move. I knew it was affordable. And I took the little bit of savings that I had, and from the savings that I had also gained through the pandemic, and I put it together and made it work. And made sure I had to move in with my parents, which as an adult, that is one of the hardest things
I know, I've been there.
that you can do, especially like when you've been
Yeah.
living on your own and you have your own vibe and you know what you spend money on, and then I'm a millennial, so we're different kind of people anyway. We're that segue. So I just it was hard. But we made it through, and I'm grateful for that because it enabled me to, be in the home that I am now, and I'm in right now. And I just I'm grateful for that. It was a journey. It took me about 8 years with everything that happened in my life. But we're here.
Here we are. Well, congratulations anyway. And can you talk to me a bit kind of over the last few years, if you're comfortable with it, of course, just what were the transitions like of becoming, a single mother financially, and all the kind of the financial dependency that you had to acquire? What was that like?
There's so many different levels.
Mm.
Because I have always like sort of worked, it felt like from high school to, because I was in so many different things, to college, to after college. I've always kind of like been able to, work and get my hands dirty and at anything I wanted to do, and to be supported by that by my significant other was great. But then him being in and out of the country and being, a dual citizen, he wasn't always here. So I still had to put in a lot of work actually. But I did have help if I felt like I was not going to be able to make certain bills or needed help with things that I wanted. So to have that, disappear was traumatic. And I don't have the best relationship with my family, unfortunately. So it wasn't like something I could go and say, hey, mom, or hey, dad, let me get a loan. Let me get 20 grand. Let me get 10 grand to put down on a home. So it was literally, budgeting and resources and pulling together, what I had um, to do that. It was,
And
yeah.
and you say you obviously don't have the best relationship with your family during this time where you were on your own. Did you ask anyone for help? Did you have people there that you could kind of lean on a bit financially, or was it just all you?
I'm a strong believer in like karma, and I'm a strong believer that people get put in your life at times of need. And throughout my growth, even now, I'll get these awesome people in my corner. And sometimes they only are there for a month, sometimes they're there for 2 years. But I'm not going to say, oh, I did all this by myself. I guess if someone else were to look at it, they'd be like, oh, you're a self-made king person, because I'm still rising. But I would not say that, because in every single place, like, I have small children. So who's gonna raise my babies? Who's gonna help me? Who am I gonna entrust in case I have to work late? And those kind of things, and I have been truly taken care of because my kiddos are great. They've had a great upbringing. Just because of the moving, they're very culturally diverse. So I'm gonna say absolutely, I had tons of help, but it came from the most inconspicuous places, places I never really looked, and they would just walk
Yeah.
up to me. So I guess that's divine right for you.
Fantastic, fantastic. And your professional life at the moment, obviously things are going so great for you at the moment. Do you enjoy working in tech, and do you attribute kind of your success, your life success at the moment, to kind of the industry that you're in? Is it financially rewarding for you?
I'll tell you this. I had no idea. Okay. My trajectory was anthropology, sociology, psychology. That was my trajectory. I started as a music major. So I had no idea I was going into tech. But when the pandemic happened and I was managing a salon spa at the time, so it's very hands-on. And I just had my daughter. So you can imagine all the feelings that I had about this new pandemic and working all hands on and people getting sick all the time. I just had to let it go. So, I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, this is an opportunity for me to grow. What do I need to learn more about? And I said, well, since I had left the car industry, I really didn't feel like I knew as much tech as I should. And going forward and just reading forums and white papers, and I need to know more about this stuff if I'm going to last and if I'm going to be, especially with my husband being gone. I said, if I am going to lead my family and change the narrative, then I need to be versed in this. So it really started as me like, I'm just going to get this job and see what I can learn, see what yeah. And I was like, I'll do it for, I don't know, 6 months and I'll go do something else, see what the climate brings. And now I'm like 2 years in and I'm like thinking about my place in tech. Is it going to be this, that? And I'm going towards data analytics and cybersecurity. I started researching about just the security of having a job. And then my first number one is going to be work-life balance. I mean, I work from home. Like, I don't have to go stand beside a water cooler and talk to somebody I really don't like. I can instead like prep my meal for dinner later. Um, and those things really weigh very heavily on me, especially through the pandemic and learning that it's sometimes better to just slow down a little bit.
Absolutely. So I have two questions about your college life. So firstly, what type of instrument do you play, or are you a singer?
It was my voice, so
Yeah.
classically trained voice. I started when I was like 9 years old, and I just kept going until I was about 24. I had won a couple like gold medals like in our local classical like competition, and then I had gone on to compete in some larger cities, and I did fairly well, like fourth place and stuff like that. And then I kept on listening to people like, you can't pay any bills with this. I'm sad that I listened to that a little bit, but it's okay too because some things that are your hobbies are precious to you and they're not always meant to be shared with the entire world.
Yeah, or you don't have to necessarily make money from them
To
either.
enjoy them.
Um, Absolutely. So I suppose you're the first American person I've spoken to
Ooh.
after Joe Biden has given loan relief for student debts in the United States of America. What is kind of your feeling on that? Did it affect you? Did it suit you? Were you happy about it? Or and can you kind of speak to kind of the general population of the country as well and how they're feeling about it?
I think there's mixed feelings. I think for some, and I'll speak general first, of course, because for some, I feel like it's not enough because they were told, you go be a doctor, you go be a lawyer, you go do these high powered careers to get the most absolute money. And, you know, you'll be taken care of or you'll be able to pay it off because you'll have this high income. I feel like a lot of the people that are upset are faced with like it's just a drop in the bucket, okay? So they're really not moved by it. Now, somebody like me who, I took the European approach to school. I did not go straight to college. I went abroad. I hung out. I did nothing and did a little bit of something. I worked in people's gardens and I was doing the most for a couple years before I even backpacked. All the memories, before I came back to the States. So I was able to get the Pell Grant, which enables me to be awarded the max amount. And how I look at it is I'm grateful for anything you want to give me. You're literally taking, 20K of debt away from me. So, okay, fine. But it's like instead of paying for a luxury car, it's like paying for a full-size car, when I'm looking at it, financially. So I'm grateful, but I feel like in general aspects, a lot of people don't think it's enough. I think some people are happy. Some people, it took care of everything. But if you're in a career where you went to school for something and you thought it was going to promise you this large salary, and then you ended up, working at Home Goods or working at Safeway or work, and it's not touching, what you need to spend or your budget, then yeah, I'd be upset. I would be, I would be insulted, and I think that's where a lot of people are.
Yeah, I read an interesting BuzzFeed article that this journalist, she interviewed different people of all ages, and there were just some horror stories of people that they're six figures, 140, $150,000 in debt, and they don't think they'll ever actually pay it off in their lifetime. Do you think that this is kind of a bit of a political stunt or a political kind of plea for votes from Joe Biden, or do you think that there's kind of, as you say, it's only a drop in the bucket? What do you think that they could be doing more? Do you think it could be a case by case basis in terms of who has the most debt, or is it kind of a blanket thing for all the American citizens that they're all just getting 10K or 20K? How's it kind of working over there?
Um, as I know, you have to apply for it. So it's not just, they're not just throwing it away. It's something that you have to apply for. So I guess in that case, it's a case by case deal, but the requirement is so broad. And like I said, because I had the Pell Grant, I qualify for 10K in addition to. So that right there is the qualifications. Now, do I think it's a blank? Absolutely. I don't. If I watch world news, so I have a vague description of what you guys know about what's going on down here. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it's like this far away from being like madness in the street.
Yeah, of
And
course,
I
yeah.
think it's a way to coddle us. And it's a promise, during his administration, in the beginning of his administration when he was, running for president-elect. And that was a promise. That was a
Yeah.
promise given to us. It was supposed to be a lot more, but it was a promise, right? And he's got to make do on this promise if he wants to stay, or else what other option do we have?
Yeah, well, we could go into that, but that'd probably be a topic for another podcast.
True enough,
Um,
true enough, true
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but brilliant. Okay, and I suppose kind of yourself as well, personally, Amanda, when it comes to relationships and debt, what are your, what are your, what's your opinion on people that are dating and maybe are looking or maybe are meeting up with people that have debt themselves, and what place do you think that debt has in dating and relationships?
That is a huge, huge, huge deal. And I think it's a bigger deal for males, for men, because so much is riding on the balance and the institution of marriage. So I know a lot of them don't, I mean, debt is debt, true enough, but there's such thing as like healthy debt, and there's such thing as the latter. And I think when they're thinking about having families, the men that are ready for families and they're ready for commitment and what have you, I think that they should let it weigh super heavy. Like super heavy. I think finances have to be in check if you literally like want, need anything, because if not, then what are you doing? And then for women, I think it's in the same right, especially now where a lot of times women are depending upon a male counterpart for children, for a home, for a lot of stuff. So it matters for women just as heavy, if not heavier, because we don't afford the same kind of rights as someone on the opposite side of the spectrum. So it's huge. It's a big deal. And in dating, it makes it almost nearly impossible, because I don't know how many conversations I've had with a man, like about them having to progress and needing certain things before they can. And it's a smart conversation to have, but we're so weighed down by our debt. It's like we can't get on with our lives.
Going back to kind of your own journey as well, what advice would you give to single mothers that are in unfortunate situations or were in unfortunate situations like yourself? What advice can you give to single mothers who are out there on their own looking to survive financially and progress to the same kind of standard of life now that you have for yourself, Amanda?
Take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Drink your water.
Yeah.
I'll also say be as knowledgeable as you can about your mental status. And if you feel unwavering at any moment, seek help. Therapy's great. And that's your number one. So just take care of yourself, number one. And number two, research, read, educate yourself. No one's going to do it for you. No one's coming to save you. So you're going to have to do that for yourself. And I think once, all this is good and your body's good and you're researching and you're reading, I think everything else will fall in its place no matter what situation you're in.
And can you touch on slightly how you educated yourself? What kind of self-education did you do in that area?
Absolutely. For my industry, I read the white paper. I am active on LinkedIn. I make connections. I network. I talk. Yeah, I'm at home, but now that things are a little like chill, I try to go out and do things in my community. It's anything that you can kind of get your hands on that it's in the realm and in the spectrum of what you're doing, so that you can meet people and you can network and you can learn more. So if you're into art like myself, I go art classes, or I go sip and paint. It's fun and I'm painting and I get something to throw on the wall, or, artistic expression, so just doing the things that you like and you enjoy will find your network and find your people.
So your health is your wealth, knowledge is power, and follow your passions.
Whoa, did I say that?
That's all good stuff. That's what I gather. That's all good stuff. And for the future, Amanda, kind of, you've achieved so many things. What are you kind of looking to achieve now in the future? Be it, for your own personal finance or your family finance or whatever it may be.
So for us, it's really about saving. Yeah, I have this house. It's in great condition. DUI projects for me, and saving. What I want to do is I'm looking forward to purchasing a second property. I want to do that within the next year, like in 3 months in that year.
Very nice.
Because I have to wait a year. So I'm working on my second property. I just finished real estate school just so that I could understand the market a little better. I'll take my test and see where that gets me, but I just really wanted to understand the market. So I'm probably going to be dibbling and dabbling in that.
Nice.
Cybersecurity. I'm sticking with my tech, even if it's a little side gig or trade. I'm going to stay with that, and loving all things that are beautiful.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, listen, Amanda, it was a pleasure having you on the Chirp and getting your take on things and listening to your story as well. If people want to get in touch or add you on LinkedIn or add you to their network, how can they find you?
Oh yeah, LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is great. I would say TikTok, but it's a little controversial.
Yeah, maybe at the moment.
Yeah, so definitely LinkedIn is the best place to find me. It's by Amanda Heyliger. That's the place.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today, and best of luck in all of your future endeavours.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Great words of wisdom from Amanda, and great to talk to someone with a lot of life experience when it comes to looking after yourself and your own. And I have a lot of time and respect for single mothers, and one of the reasons being the financial hardship and stress that comes with not just looking after yourself financially, but the responsibility of another also. And Amanda clearly has a lot of experience dealing with not just the financial side of things, but also how to keep a clear mind and positive attitude when dealing with money. And I appreciated when I initially asked her for advice that she would give other women in her position. She answered about her mental health, going to therapy, keeping your creativity and hobbies and passions alive, drinking your water. That definitely resonated most with me. So aside from being wise about your finances and your debt, it is also wise to look after yourself just as much. And I was quite keen to ask Amanda about the current student loan relief situation that's happening at the moment, because I'm quite keen to learn about it myself. Student debt is a huge issue in America, and one us Europeans find quite hard to fathom due to how extreme some of the debt can be. Not for everyone, but I've heard some serious figures, and it's hard not to broach the subject, obviously, without getting all political, but it is something I want to explore, as it is a debt that affects so many Americans, and I would love to talk eventually to an expert in this area in the future, and how this debt affects people and how it can be managed, not just by government loan relief, but how people can actually help each other and how maybe the situation could be improved in the future. So until then, I shall leave you all for another 2 weeks. A special thank you again to Amanda for coming onto the Chirp. I'll be back in September with our first autumnal episode. Be sure to reach out to the Chirp as well if you are interested in telling your story. So stay safe, stay financially aware, and I will see you all soon. Take care.